Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Wednesday Wake Up. It's time for another walkthrough of talking about business planning for 2017 with a little bit of a twist. We talk a lot about business planning in our coaching and training programs. All the big training companies and coaching companies out there talk about business planning and the importance of it. And it is absolutely crucial. Statistics show that, in fact, people who do a good detailed business plan are like 2 or 3 times more likely to be successful than those who don't. One of our top salesmen in our company taps his head and says, "It's all up here." And so I continue to chastise him. He does very well without one, but don't try that on your own, okay? If you're starting out in the business or plateaued and want to take another level, business planning is a great thing to do right now as transaction activities begin to slow down and that type of thing. So let's dig into talking about business planning. As usual, we talk about habits, attitudes, and skills. This is a skill, business planning. And obviously, if you get into the habit of not only doing a business plan annually, but then tracking what you're doing and following up on it, and we'll talk a good bit of that, that's going to help your attitude by being in control of things and knowing where you're going and what you're doing. So here's the little bit of a twist that we've got with things. We're going to be introducing a new coaching and training system with Debbie DeGroat. Some of you may have already taken part in some of the webinars. Debbie's been sending around on about a weekly basis, doing webinars on various things. Gino Blafari has brought in Excellium at a corporate level to be the coaching and training business partner with Berkshire Hathaway Home Services, and it's a very exciting move. Debbie DeGroat has been in the business for a long, long time and has trained and worked with some of the other big names in the business. And so we're having an event on December 13. If you haven't already signed up for it, please go ahead and do so. Morning, Josh. Sign up for the event on December 13th. It's going to be up at the Rich Charles in Carmel, and it will be an all-day event with the morning being focused on business planning with the Excellium approach to that, and then the afternoon is going to be a listing boot camp. So detailed 2 or 3 hour sessions on how to go after and win and serve listings. So get signed up for that. That's going to be very exciting on December 13. We're really excited to bring that to you. So let's take a look, and I'm going to share with you some of Excellium's approaches in this business planning. And they're similar to, but slightly different from some of the other ones. So it's great to have another angle on how to go about this. I've got a couple of handouts that I will share with you. Let me give you these right now. Pass that down. These are a couple of things. There you go. That will be implemented on the 13th. I'm going to hand them out right now. Debbie had suggested it if you take a look at some of this and come prepared on the 13th. And I'll walk through these in detail with you, but I wanted to pass them out right now. That'll give you a sort of a head start on that session. So, business planning. Overall sequencing of business planning. Step 1, of course, and this is that first sheet on the Excellium approach, is sort of looking at your past year's stats in a different way than we've done that before. But mastering your stats, looking at what you've done, and if you've been in the business for 2 or 3 years or longer, not only what you've done this year, but what you did last year and how that compares, et cetera, et cetera. So the key, as we've talked about for a long time, ever since we started talking about the 5 keys to success in the business, mastering your stats. So why do you want to master your stats? And this isn't just at business planning time. This is all year long, going through the year. Oh, the third one down there is what we're talking about right now. That is the purpose of planning. For planning purposes, kind of difficult to put together a detailed plan unless you know what you've been doing in pretty good detail as well. So that's the obvious one, and that's what we're talking about now. But keep in mind also that there's 2 other good reasons to be aware of tracking and mastering your stats, and that is differentiating and enhancing yourself, differentiating yourself. One agent I coached a couple of years ago, we were looking at her numbers, and it turned out that for the previous year, this time of year we were sitting down, her average days on the market for something like 20 listings was 28 days. for average time on the market, days on the market. So that allowed her to add to her marketing program. By the way, I sell houses in an average of 28 days. How would you like to have somebody sell your house in 28 days? Obviously, that's not a factual translation. We all know that, but what a great differentiating aspect to be able to say, by the way, the houses I sold last year averaged only 28 days on the market. How would you like that to go to work for you? The other aspect then is enhancing yourself. What if in tracking your stats halfway through the year or at the end of the year, you find out that, whoa, my days on the market was 40 days more than the average for the market in that subdivision or that area, Carmel or Greenwood or wherever it might be. Great story about one of our top agents in one of our offices a few years ago, meeting with her about this time of the year, looking at her stats. Her average commission percentage rate was 1.8%. She'd sold a lot of real estate that year. As soon as I pointed that out to her when we ran that number, she went, oh, I have to stop discounting my commissions. And she did. The next year we sat down same time. She had increased from 1.8 to 2.3%. That put about $35,000 into her pocket just by being aware. She had recognized that she was just automatically discounting her commission rate on listings without even needing to. So she just took a more proactive approach to only discounting if and when it ever really became necessary to win the deal, and maybe not even then. So differentiating yourself, enhancing yourself, putting more money in your pocket, and then planning. The more you know about where you've been, obviously, the better you can set, adjust, and reach your goals. So looking at last year's review, this is the first sheet, and I'll send this around to everybody as well, from the Excellium annual business planning approach. And Debbie DeGroat, when she's here at the event on the 13th, will go through in great detail. Her business planning packet has something like 16 or 19 pages to it. So it gets into a lot of detail. So be prepared for a thorough thought process to really dig into what you're looking to do and why you're looking to do it, et cetera. Just walking briefly through this, you want to look at what's the total income paid. In other words, what's your 1099? Obviously, at this point in time, as we're doing some planning for next year, you're going to estimate that for the rest of this year. If you have any closings between now and the end of the year, you can look at your stats. So what's your $1099? What have you been paid gross from the company? What are your business expenses? This is something that most people don't pay much attention to in our business. What are your expenses? Oh, I'm not really sure. I got my board expenses. What about what do you pay for a company? Do you have an assistant? So be tracking your business expenses in detail as well, because all too many people say, oh yeah, I did $3 million last year. What was your income? Oh, that was $90,000. Okay, was that your gross commission? Oh, yeah, that's 3% of $3 million, 90. That was my gross commission. Well, how much of that did you get? Well, did you get 100% of that? No. Well, what did I get? And then they start figgling and counting on their fingers, and they say, well, I actually got, 70,000 or whatever. So don't start with the 90,000 and then have to back down, because that's kind of deceiving. And if you tell your spouse, yeah, I made 90,000, honey, well, good. Why can't we go to Aruba? Well, actually, we don't have any money in this bank account anymore. So know what you're actually made and what your expenses are. So then moving on down, how many deals did you close? Did you close 12 deals? Did you close 25? And obviously, as you look at what your goals were, if you had a goal of closing 32 deals, did you close 33 or did you close 29? Were you above or below that? Taking into account what's going to close between the now and the end of the year. Total listings taken and total listings saved. One of the nice things to think about too is tracking your success ratios. One of the things that you can look at, I made X presentations to win listings and I won Y percent. Debbie DeGroat often talks about if you don't win 92.8% of your listing and buyer presentations, you're not doing everything you can. Now, how she came up with 92.8%, I'm not quite sure as a number on that. But bottom line is you ought to be winning a pretty high percentage of when you have a chance to make a presentation to someone on a listing or to represent them as a buyer, you ought to be winning a mighty high percentage of those. And if you're not, then there's more you can do in terms of training, coaching, role playing, improving your methodology, etc. So how many listings have you taken and sold? How many buyer sales did you have? What was your average sale price? Oftentimes, one of the first things this time of the year we'll talk with an agent about in coaching sessions, helping them put together their plan. What was your average sale price? You know what? If your average sale price was 135 and in the marketplace where you tend to work, it's 150, if you could increase to the average market, you could sell the same number of houses and put X dollars in your pocket with the same level of work. So raising your average sale price is one of the best ways to put more money in your pocket. What was your average days on the market? We've talked about that. What are you doing there? Is it below the market or above the market? Listings to buyers ratio. Yeah, the common wisdom in the business is, of course, it should be about 50-50. You don't want to be doing a lot more buyers than sellers, although as newer agents, you're probably going to be doing more buyers because it's easier to acquire buyer clients than it is seller clients. So, but keeping track of that. If you've been in the business 5 years and are selling $5 million and are still doing 70% of your business with buyers, you could be working a lot less and making the same money if you could find a way to translate that to more listings and fewer buyers. So, and your average commission rate, we've talked about that, and more. On the 13th, Debbie DeGroat's going to be walking through this whole process step by step with everybody to get you put together. So we've passed out, and I'll send around to everybody out there as well, this list of last year's review is what she calls it in terms of getting things put together. So once you've gone through and reviewed your year or your last couple years or last 5 years or whatever, it's time then to put together your roadmap. I'll briefly remind people of the story that happened several years ago, and it happened to be at Thanksgiving where our daughters, we were going to Detroit for Thanksgiving along with us. They were driving separately from Bloomington. We were driving from Indianapolis. This was many years ago, before cell phones, even before GPS. They thought the way to Detroit was through Columbus, Ohio, because that's where we'd always gathered for Thanksgiving. The family from Detroit came down to Columbus, so they figured, okay, well, the way to go to Detroit is through Columbus. Wednesday, late at night, no children arriving, rainy, nasty, typical, Thanksgiving Wednesday, rainy, nasty day, finally arrived at midnight, and they finally then told the story that they had thought that the way to Detroit was through Columbus. So bottom line, they didn't have a good roadmap, and they created all kinds of problems for themselves, and they had some unhappy clients. Mom and dad were not very pleased with their service to mom and dad. So anyway, having a good roadmap will help the journey become much more rewarding for you. So part of the goal of a true business plan, a lot of people who come to real estate from other businesses have had the good fortune of having to be a part of business planning and doing true business planning. Business plans truly include a number of elements that I want to remind people about. First of all, a mission statement, a target market, a marketing plan, an annual financial plan then, and then leading into a detailed action agenda for what you need to do every day to grow your business. Let's talk just for a second about a mission statement. Mission statement is kind of the why of what you do. And do I have a sheet on that? Yeah, I'm going to skip to that one there. Mission statement is the why, and it's your promise of what you do. My mission statement, I've shared this with people. You're more than welcome to steal it and use it in your own way. My mission statement is that I help people with their biggest financial decisions using a package of personally tailored services focused on making the process rewarding. I don't say a word about selling anything. I don't say a word about houses. I do, however, use two keywords that tie to money, and that is biggest financial decision. I help people with their biggest financial decisions and make the process rewarding. As a writer, I'm well aware that the most important word in any sentence is the last word. So that's why I put that. The process is rewarding. Wow, financial and rewarding. So I've planted those things in there. My cocktail party or luncheon mission statement is simply, I help people with their biggest financial decisions. And invariably, when I say that to folks, the response is, oh, are you a stockbroker or banker or something? And then I say, no, I help people buy and sell houses. And houses are people's biggest financial decision. And invariably, the response to that is, oh, wow, I never thought about it that way. I have just, and you're welcome to use this, you've just positioned yourself as a professional in a very, very different approach than most people in this business do when they talk about selling houses. Now, if you sell the most houses in Spring Mill Ponds, then that's your mission statement. Hi, I'm David Hessler. I sell the most houses in Spring Mill Ponds for the last 5 years. Wow, okay, that's your mission statement. You've got a different mission statement based on what you've achieved. That shows us that your target market ties very much with your mission statement. My target market is people who want financial services and want to look at things a little bit differently and want a professional advisor. That's my shtick, to position myself that way. If you've been in the business for a while and have sold more homes in Meridian Kessler than anybody else in the last few years, wow, take advantage of that and make that be your target market and tie those things together. So, mission statement and target market. Obviously, if you're going after for sale by owners or expired listings, then my mission statement is pretty weak in helping you achieve that. So your mission statement for that might be, I'm helping people achieve their dreams while avoiding some of the pitfalls of working with the average broker, something like that. So anyway, think about what your goals are and put together a mission statement. And that really ties to your big why. And you got to kind of have that in mind first before you can do any of the other things. So I'm going to go back one slide here and then talk about, as you're working on these things, you need to do a SWOT analysis. Have either of you guys done SWOT analysis before? Yeah, many people have. Strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. The goal is to assess what your strengths are with regard to the real estate business. If you're a poor cook, that probably doesn't really matter that much in terms of the real estate business. If you have trouble making commitments in relationships, that probably doesn't have any impact on this as well. So strengths, weaknesses, and the goal is to take an honest look at your weaknesses with regard to being in the real estate business, and then try to take your strengths and match them to your weaknesses and overcome those weaknesses or challenges. If one of your weaknesses, as many of us do have as a weakness, I have trouble being organized, or I have trouble setting a routine for myself. Okay, recognize that, and then what are some of your strengths, and what can you do to overcome that weakness? Your opportunities and threats. If I have an opportunity to become better organized and can do so, that is going to make my business better. And the threats might be that if I don't become better organized and do all the things I know I should be doing in this business, I may not be able to be in this business a year from now. So thinking about your SWOTs, strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. Again, all of this is really tied into annual business planning at this point in time. Then we get into the setting the SMART goals. Many of you have heard this before too. It's always a good thing to keep this in mind. Buffini talks about this. I'm not sure whether Debbie DeGroat gets into SMART goals. I think she does. It's a pretty typical thing, but the whole point of this is the more detail, the better with your plans. And SMART goals, again, specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time-oriented. Take a look at those just briefly. Specifically, what do you want to achieve? The more specific you can be, the better. $3 million is a good start on an objective in terms of your gross commissions or your volume, but it's better to be, I want to make $100,000. I want to take home $100,000. That's better. It has to be measurable, obviously. $3 million is somewhat measurable, but much more measurable is I want to bring home $6,000 a month. I want to take home. That's a quantifiable result that you can check on every month, whereas $3 million volume can only kind of check on that at the end of the year. So that makes it easy to say, well, I'm on track. I should be on track because things will get a lot busier in November and December. I'm sure I'll meet that goal. So measurable and then attainable. Obviously, if you're new in the business, it's probably not going to be helpful to set a goal of $10 million your first year in the business. Or if you sold $1.5 million your first year, which is wonderful, it's probably not helpful to set a $20 million goal your second year. That's probably not going to be attainable unless you're a very unique and special and fortunate person. So put a goal that will be attainable and be one that you will continue to strive for and that will make sense for you and that will be reachable for you. And then relevant, that's a similar one as well. And if I could spell position, actually I didn't, that's just right out of the BHHS thing. So credit them for that misspelling of position there. Anyway, it has to be relevant to where you are. If you're my age and thinking about slowing down in your business, cutting down on your goals might be relevant to what you're doing. So it has to be all tied together. And then the last, time-oriented. Good morning. Has to be time-oriented, has to have a defined beginning and end. That's obviously why we spend so much time this time of the year talking about these kinds of things, because most people do an annual business plan. And I encourage people to do your business planning and tracking on a calendar year basis, because most of us probably pay our taxes on a calendar year basis. If you have a corporation and pay on a different year, then do your business planning on that year as well. Many people at different offices used to have contracts. They had a contract year, maybe some people still do, that ran from like June through the end of May, and so that would create havoc when trying to hit goals and things like that. So I think most people these days do have contracts that run January through December, so tie things together on that. Bottom line, remember, a goal without a deadline is only a dream. So, and part of the purpose of this is to set an annual goal so that you can set quarterly goals, so that you can set monthly goals, weekly goals, and daily goals to get your work done and to achieve your goals. So the next step is a financial roadmap. That's what most people think of when they think of a business plan, is a financial roadmap, and that is a crucial part of it. But there's so much more, as I've just covered, that goes into it. And when you go through this on on the 13th with Debbie DeGroat, there's even more that she'll get into. She really digs very, very deeply into this, and especially for agents who've been in the business for a while. So, but then we get into the final thing, the culmination of business planning, and that is a financial business plan. And part of that gets into looking at your financial requirements and looking at your business goals. Step one, and the BHHS Quick Start Essentials has an Excel spreadsheet analysis where you can look at what are your personal expenses that you need to cover. If you have a significant other or a spouse or whatever that you share expenses with, or if you're a single person, it's a good idea to put those in there to see, okay, what's my nut, so to speak, that I need to make just a break even to pay my expenses. If you're a newer agent, what do I need to do to cover or to contribute as a part of a team or family or whatever. And then you'll want to say, okay, what do I want to include as savings and investment for the future? So in other words, how much, in addition to covering my basic expenses, do I want to then contribute to our kids' education, that trip to Aruba, moving to India, whatever it might be? What do I want to contribute to all those things? So that takes you then to, okay, this is how much I really want to make. And then you can take that and shift it into the next step, which is, okay, I have done my analysis and I want to take home this much money. So how do I translate that into what I need to achieve on a daily basis? And we're going to go live in just a bit here and walk through this form. This is a great form. It's a BHHS form. It's a Buffini form that we've updated. I don't know that Excellium has an Excel form. They probably do, but I love this. If you prefer doing it all with a pencil and paper and an eraser on your hard copy, that's perfectly fine. Just bring your calculator. But if you like Excel, this is a great tool to do it. And we'll go live and walk through how that works. But the goal of this is to take you to how many prospects and how many contacts do you need to make every day. And one of the biggest elements of all this business planning is to get to the point where you can pay yourself a salary. What that means is you've reached a point where your business in real estate is making enough money that you can leave money in your real estate business. You don't need to take every penny out to cover your car expenses and your dog groomer and everything like that. You've reached that point where you can pay yourself a salary, and this is going to help you get to that point. Paying yourself a salary, and then at the end of the year, if you've met your goals, pay yourself a bonus and leave money in your business. That's what a real business would do, wouldn't it? It should do. When they have cash flow, they leave money in so they can continue to pay the bills when things slow down in the winter. That's our goal, is to get to that point where you can treat your business as a real business and treat yourself as a real investor in your business. So let's take a look a little further into some of the things. The next, once you've done that, we'll go live in just a minute. But one of the things that you'll be going over with Debbie DeGroat and Excellium on the 13th is her approach to tracking your stats monthly, which is the goal of all of this, is to set up these plans and then track your stats. And Excellium has this fabulous tool called the Monthly Visit to Your Money Checklist. This goes way beyond looking just at your real estate business. This really gets into some of the bigger picture elements of investment. This really looks at something that all of us in this business are probably encouraged to think about doing, and that is to invest in real estate at some point in time. If you can reach that point, that's a marvelous, marvelous thing to do. So this is one of the things, if you want to give a look at this in advance before the 13th, this will be something that Debbie DeGroat will encourage you to look at every month. Many agents who are successful have a financial advisor that they meet with, or an accountant that they meet with every month to look at the bigger picture. Wow, if you think in those terms, that really says, I'm looking at this as a business, and helps you set some big time goals going forward. So we'll go live in just a minute, but again, don't miss our 2017 Business Planning and Listing Bootcamp event, Thursday, December 13th. Hopefully you've all seen this invitation come around from Craig West. Just another one came around the other day, and I think just yesterday. So if you haven't signed up, go ahead and sign up for this. It's going to be a great live event, a chance to meet Debbie DeGroat, one of the top nationally known coaches and trainers in the country here, and one that Berkshire Hathaway Home Services has developed a relationship with at the corporate level. So you'll be seeing more and more of Debbie DeGroat and Excellium going forward. So let's go live for a second and just take a quick walk through that business planning tool again here. So this is what we continue to call our Peak Producer Annual Planning Tool. If you've not seen this before, if you have, hopefully you've made use of it or will make use of it. If you haven't, this is a fabulous tool. And again, it starts out with, what's my net income goal? What do I want to take home every month, or for the year? And if you say, I need $3,000 to meet my expenses, and I want to save another $3,000 towards contributing toward our family's long-term goals, or whatever it might be. You come up with what you want to achieve, and let's say you want to make $100,000. I like that number. I think everybody should strive to make $100,000 in the real estate business. That's a big number for people, but it can be done easily. So, well, not easily, with a lot of good work and some good luck. So let's say your 12-month goal is $100,000. Let's just get really aggressive and say it's, $120,000. Wow, $10,000 a month I want to make. And my tax rate is 22%. You can judge your own tax rate, whatever it might be. That means if I want to take home $120,000, I need to make $153,000 before taxes. This is great because this is taking your taxes into account. Again, most of the time, most of us don't really think about that. Oh, I had $3 million in sales. I made $90,000. Did you really make that? How about you pay taxes on? Oh, well, I paid taxes on $10,000. Okay. So then what are your business expenses? What do you pay to the company? What do you pay for marketing? What do you pay for Facebook? You have an assistant. Put your own expenses in there. Obviously, if you're newer in the business, this is going to be an estimate based on a budget that you should put together, what you plan to spend and can afford to invest, since that's what you're doing right now at this stage of the game. If you've been in the business before, you're going to have the ability to look at your business expenses, assess, am I getting a return on that? Is Trulia and Zillow still worth $1,000 a month. How many leads did I get from that? What did they translate into? 12,000 expense, and I got 12,000 back from that. That's not a very good return, frankly, on that. That just covered the cost. I want a better return on investments than that. I can spend $12,000 on something else and get a much better return. So what's my return on all those things? Hey, Andrew. So that will then tell you, once you've looked at your expenses and everything, what are my adjusted gross commission that I need to make. This allows you also, I'm thinking about hiring an assistant. And if I had $25,000 in expenses last year and I hire an assistant and I'm going to pay them $2,000 a month, that's going to add, so that's all of a sudden going to make that $49,000 a year. So if I still want to make $120,000, that really pumps up my gross commissions that I need to bring in if I still want to net the same thing. So it allows you to play with things like that. I'll just put that back to $25,000 there. So $189,000. So that then gives you what's the gross commission. That's your 1099. That's what you need to see on your 1099. 189, 577. That's what you need to see on your 1099 with those expenses and that tax rate to bring home $10,000 a year. Does that make sense? So your 1099, of course, is after your gross commissions, after the company's split and some things like that. So you need to look at, okay, what's my split with my broker? Some people may have a cap. They're all different. So put in your split with the company that you have, and that will then gross up the amount on your 1099 to what the actual company commission that the company receives on your transactions, right? And that's what all too many of us say. Yeah, I had $270,000 of gross commission last year. Well, how much did you make? Well, did you make $270,000? Probably not. Well, you need to know that. So this will help you figure all that out. So put in whatever your split with the company is, and then that will tell you what the gross commission that the company needed to get in order to pay you the $189 in order for you to bring home $10,000 a year. Obviously, as you change these numbers, you change that to $50,000 a year, that changes those things considerably and makes them a bit more reasonable for you. So you can play with this and see what it does to the numbers. By the way, don't change any of the black numbers, only the green numbers. The black numbers are formulas, and I couldn't figure out how to lock those in. So if you change those, it'll change the formula and mess things up for you. So just play with the green numbers. So, okay, you come down with the gross commission goal of $135,000 that the company needs to get checks from closings. So, all right, now you look at what's my average sale price. If your average sale price in the market, if you're newer in the business and the average sale price in the market is, say, $170 in the market you work in, then use that as your average sale price. If you've been in the business for a while and have a track record and you've been very successful and you've worked in a high-level market and your average sale price up there is $225,000 for your sales that you've done, then use that. So, again, as you can see, if your average sale price is $225,000, that would mean you'd need to sell 20 sides down there, that number, 20 sides, to achieve that. If your average sale price, however, is $160,000, you need to sell 28 houses or have 28 sides. What a difference that makes. You got to do a lot more work if your average sale price is $160,000 than if you can get it up to $225,000. So again, that's something to keep in mind. How can I raise my average sale price through the course of the year by focusing on maybe different farming areas, perfecting my listing presentation, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So again, let's just use a $200,000 average sale price. So you got to sell, and this is where then you get into your average commission rate. Well, you may be thinking that 3%, that's pretty easy. In many markets, the average market commission rate is 6%. Some, it's still 7%. That's great if you can get 7%. If you've got, I always look at commission rates like baseball batting averages. If you're a baseball fan, you know that anybody who hits 300 or above, they're a really good hitter. Well, if you can do 3 0.0 or above, you're a really good hitter in terms of commission rates. If you can do 275, 2.75 to 300, that's good on average. Why? Because you may discount your rate. You may do some relocations where you get a lower thing. You may do some referrals and things like that. So, but if you can do between 2.75 and 3, you're doing very well. Let's see what happens here. What if, remember that agent who had sold a lot of real estate that had a 1.8 commission rate? So instead of 22.49 houses, we got to sell 37 houses, almost twice as many if we are discounting our rate or doing maybe too many reload deals. Reload is a great tool to build your business and build your volume, but you don't want to overdo relocation because it really, you're working a lot harder and getting paid less, which is fine because it puts deals in your pocket, but it can lower your rate and take time from doing some other things for you. So look at the impact these things have here for all of these things. These are probably the most important things for you to focus on. What is my average sale price? And what is my average commission rate? Let's just pop that back up to 2.5. And that means you got to sell 27 houses. I like leaving it at 3%. So got to sell 22 houses. So let's say we've achieved these. That we want to make $50,000 or about $4,000 take home pay every month from that. And so that brings us to, we got to do went down too far. 22 sides we got to do, about 2 a month on average, 1.87. So how many contacts do we need? This is where we really get into what do I do in this business every day. So many newer agents sort of, after they go through some basic training, are sort of left in a situation of, I'm not sure what to do. Well, this will tell you what to do and the number of contacts you need to make. So here you could again adjust this. How many contacts do you need to generate one solid prospect or a referral? So what that means is if I make 10 calls a day or 5 calls a day and have 5 coffees a day or whatever, 10 face-to-face or voice-to-voice. That's what we really mean by a contact, face-to-face or voice-to-voice. That's what we mean by contact. Sending out e-newsletters and things like that are good, but those aren't really contacts. Those are touches, not so much contacts. Subtle difference there. So if it takes 20 of those contacts to generate one referral or one, a contact you're calling expired listings or IBJs or whatever, and it takes 20 of those to get an actual referral or somebody who says, yeah, I'm thinking about buying, then you can put that number in there. If it takes 20 to get one, that's great. If you've been doing this for a while and you've gotten a lot more efficient and it only takes 15 to do that, wow, that can really change your numbers a lot. So look at that. I'm going to just put 20 back in there. And then once you've gotten a prospect, somebody says, I'm thinking about buying or selling, and they give you their contact information to add to your database, then how many of those does it take to get to the closing table? Within, I'll say, 6 months or a year. A lot of coaching and training people will say, if somebody has got to buy right now and close within 3 months, then don't waste your time on it. I don't like that approach because you're going to be in this business for a lot of years. I'm not, but most of you could be in this business for a number of years. Why would you not want to develop a relationship, add somebody to your database, and consider them a live contact and a potential, if they've said, I'm thinking about buying in a year from now when we pay off our student loans or after I graduate from law school. Why would you not want to develop that? So add that to your group. So how many of those prospects do you need to get to the closing table? Is it 2.5? Is it 5 of those to get to the closing table? Is it 3? Have you become pretty efficient? Is that for every 3 of those prospects that I get to the closing table with one of those 3. So as a new agent, you're probably going to want to make that a little higher, 4 or 5, and maybe it's 25 contacts to get a prospect. So as you've been in the business and gotten more effective at this, you've developed, like somebody like Drew Schrader or Julianne Deely, who has a long-time relationships with people who every time they call somebody, they get a referral. It may be much lower, much more effective numbers than this. That's the goal to get to that point. So anyway, what this tells you then is your activity goals. That means you need to generate, in order to sell that 22 houses during the course of the year, it means you need to generate 7.5, or since there's not half buyers, 8 referrals or prospects that you can add to your database every month. That means you need to make just under 200 contacts per month at that ratio. And again, you can see what happens if you lower that to 20. That means it goes down to 150 contacts per month. And again, a contact is not leaving a message. A contact is actually speaking to or talking face-to-face with somebody. That's a contact in our business. So that means you need to get 1.5 or 2 referrals a month, or make 35 contacts per week, or 7 contacts per weekday. That tells you what you need to do every day. And that's why it talks about the importance of your database, having it well organized, and really working things, whether it's with your database, with our expired listings, for sale by owners, joining referral groups, joining other clubs and things. That's the real estate business is, as Buffini likes to say, a contact sport. So if you're not making contact with people, it's going to be very difficult to achieve those kinds of numbers. Does that make sense as a way to look at things and break things down going forward? So I love this tool and encourage everybody to make use of it. And again, as you think about implementing the tools, the skill and tools of preparing a written annual business plan, that's going to lead you to the habit, hopefully, of tracking your activities and your stats and giving you an attitude of knowing where you've been and where you're going. It's going to make not only give you the best results, but make you feel a lot better about where you are in your business and in your life. So again, don't forget to sign up for the 2017 Business Planning and Listing Bootcamp event with Debbie DeGroat and Excellium on 2 weeks from yesterday, actually, on December 13th, an all-day event. No charge, lunch is provided. I look forward to seeing everybody there. So anybody have any questions on business planning? I know I talk about this a lot, and in Peak Producers class tomorrow, we're going to be talking about SMART goals and doing this from his slightly different perspective. The more you can learn about this, the better it is. Anybody have any questions?
Where will we find that sheet, David, that you just went over? I know Peak Performers, but do we have access to it also?
I will send it around. I'll send around these sheets, and I'll send around that sheet as well to everybody again, because I think it's a great tool. And again, there's so many of these great tools that are available out there. I hate to be diluting things with too many of them, but I think this Excel spreadsheet that we've come up with, it's from Berkshire Hathaway, Peak Producers, that we've sort of refined, is one of the best tools that helps me focus down on things. There's a lot that goes into it, though. Josh?
I missed one of your first slides there. Taking some notes. You had the mission statement, target market, and just kind of bullet pointed some of the process there.
Sure. Yeah. A true business plan, and again, this is Eli Lilly uses this, IBM uses this, probably a lot more sophisticated. But a true business plan really includes all these elements. First is a mission statement. Again, the mission statement is your promise to of what you're going to do in your business. IBM, I don't know what their mission statement is, but it's interesting. You might go online and take a look at some companies' mission statements and get some ideas of what they're saying. The mission statement is, again, that elevator speech in a nutshell. Again, mine, the one that I've used for years, is that I help people with their biggest financial decisions using a personally tailored package of services focused on making the process rewarding. So I'm not selling anybody anything. I'm talking about process. I'm talking about service. I'm talking about rewarding and financial. And again, because that's the way I approach it, and posture myself as a professional advisor, not someone selling something. So again, if you sold the most homes in Meridian Kessler over the last 3 years, by golly, that ought to be to continue to be the top salesperson in Meridian Kessler of homes over 700,000, 2 or whatever, or 20, whatever it might be. And then the second element, and these go hand in glove together is the target market. What's my target market? I describe my target market, people who want sort of a financial-based professional service, an advisor kind of relationship, people who like that and that appeals to them. And I think that adds value. That's my approach to it. So that's my target market. If your target market is first-time home buyers in Fountain Square, then you're going to have a different mission statement that ties to that. Serving millennial buyers who see the world the way I do and who want to live in the coolest area of Fountain Square and whatever it might be. Make your mission statement tie into your target market. And again, you'll probably have a longer mission statement that you'll use either on your website, on a page called mission statement. You might use the full mission statement as part of your signature in your email, or your shorter mission statement. So mission statement, target market, and then a marketing plan. I didn't really talk much about that. How are you then going to go after Fountain Square millennials? How are you going to go after people who would see and like someone to treat them as a financial advisor kind of a person? How do you market to them? So what's your marketing plan for that? And then the financial plan. So that answer your question, Josh?
Yeah.
Probably more than you needed, but thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Any questions out there? So thanks, everybody. Don't see any chats. So be sure to sign up for the event on the 13th. Happy Thanksgiving to everybody since it's done, and look forward to heading into the holidays. Take care, everybody. We'll finish the recording there.